Hello everyone, so this is part 2 of the analysis of the ICC's audited financial statements for 2024. I will insert the link to part 1 below. So today, let's look at the income side of these financial statements. And what I've done is I've adjusted them slightly so that they are in a form that we can all understand them a little more easily. By the way, these financial statements are available to everyone on the ICC's website. Okay, so the ICC's revenues for 2024 were $778 million, and their total expenses were $304 million, and their surplus or profit amounted to $475 million. Now, out of that $475 million surplus, they've earmarked $445 million for distribution to their membership, which is effectively a dividend to their shareholders, such as the English Cricket Board, the Australian Cricket Board, the West Indies Cricket Board, etc. Now, that leaves $30 million to be transferred to their financial reserves. Now, obviously, every organization needs to build up their reserves so that they have funds in case of need, effectively saving for a rainy day. And by the way, that's something we should all be doing. Okay. Now, so anyway, that's the big picture in terms of the financials. Now let's go into these numbers in a little more detail. So in 2024, the ICC had 3 main cricket events and a number of smaller development pathway events, most of which are small regional tournaments that provide a way for the smaller countries to qualify for the bigger global tournaments, such as Italy, which very recently qualified for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup through the regional pathway development tournaments. So let's start off with the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024 that was held in the USA. Now, the total revenues from that event was $691 million. This includes broadcast, sponsorship, etc. The expenses of that event were $159 million, leaving a net surplus from that event of $532 million. So effectively, the 2024 T20 World Cup generated a net profit to the ICC of $532 million. Okay, then that year we had the Women's T20 World Cup 2024 that was held in the United Arab Emirates. Revenues were $19 million. Expenses were $44 million. And that event therefore incurred a loss or a deficit for the ICC of $25 million. The ICC also held the Men's Under-19 World Cup 2024 that was played in South Africa. Revenues were $17 million, expenses were $14 million, and the net surplus therefore from that event was $3 million. So that event effectively paid for itself and it generated a $3 million profit, which is actually very encouraging, very good to see. The ICC then held a number of development events, pathway events, qualification events. Most of these have little or actually no commercial revenues at all. And therefore, there were only expenses booked of $13 million, which obviously is a straight deficit, but this is part of the development program of the ICC to be able to grow the game worldwide. The ICC then had other commercial central revenues of $8 million and various other revenues of 5 million from players' fines. They reversed certain provisions, etc. Now, in 2024, the ICC also had net interest and financial income of $29 million. This is from investing the surplus cash that they have. And the ICC has a number of banks and financial institutions that manage their portfolio of funds and make investments on their behalf. Now, let's look at the expenses of the ICC. In 2024, the ICC incurred or have provided for strategic investment costs of $20 million. They haven't actually stated what this strategic investment fund is being used for, and I wish they had explained that in a little more detail, because I'm sure it would be of interest to know what these projects are. And it's a large amount of money. $26 million was spent on staff salaries and consultants' fees. This includes the salaries of the ICC staff, the umpires and referees, the regional security managers, anti-corruption managers, and other consultants that they hire from time to time. Travel expenses amounted to $4 million. In the ICC, there is extensive travel. $1 million was spent in legal and professional fees. Depreciation costs were around $1 million, probably mainly because of the ICC's building that they own. And then there were some development-related costs of $1 million and other costs of $12 million, for which there's no breakdown, but which probably includes meeting costs, IT, infrastructure costs, and other central administration costs. Like I said, I've adjusted these income and expenses slightly to eliminate contra revenue and expense items, which are effectively contra items on both sides of the equation. So, after those adjustments, the total adjusted revenues are $769 million, expenses are $295 million, and there is therefore a net surplus of $474 million. And as I mentioned previously, $445 million will be distributed to the members, leaving $30 million to be transferred to the ICC's reserves. By the way, the ICC does not pay or pays hardly any tax on its operations, and I will do a separate video to explain this, because this is the same concept and tax planning that is similar to most of the other international sporting bodies on how they protect themselves from taxation. So I hope you found this useful and a little informative, and in part 3 I will analyze the ICC's balance sheet for 2024. Okay? Till next time.